Oh, is this on? Oh my gosh. Shoot. Did you just hear that? Okay. Sorry. I just got an email request for help on a project from a colleague. Oh my gosh. What am I going to do with this? I really like this person and they help me all the time too. But this week is so busy. Okay, wait. Who am I kidding? Every week is busy. I should just say yes. I should just do it anyway because I can fit it in. Maybe if I'm just a little late to my kid's baseball game, I can totally make this work. Wait a minute. Wait, I always do that. I always end up letting my kids down instead of setting good boundaries. Why? What should I do? Hi there. Welcome to This Leader. Have you ever felt that way? Because I just started this episode with a little vignette of how so many of us feel so often. We want to be helpful. We genuinely care about our colleagues, and we know that showing up for each other is how great work gets done. But let's face it, we're also a little overwhelmed. And we're really trying to set better boundaries. We have expertise that could help move someone else's project forward. And we have our own job to do as well. This, my friend, is the push and pull of mid-level leadership. And sometimes it's just a lot. So today, I want to talk about something that is going to make that push and pull a lot more manageable. I want to talk about managing up, and I want to introduce you to what I'm calling your ace in the hole. It's a simple framework I call ACE, ACE. And by the end of this episode, you're going to have a way to respond to cross-functional requests and to the people above you with confidence, clarity, and a whole lot less stress, I certainly hope. Let's get into it. Okay, let me paint you a picture. You work in an organization. Could be healthcare, tech, government, could be anything, nonprofit, doesn't matter. On the surface, everyone's doing their job. People show up, work gets done, deadlines are mostly met. But when you start to look a little closer, you notice something. Department A just finished a major report. Department B is also working on a major report, covering a lot of the same ground, but neither knows that the other one is working on that project. Or a decision gets made in one department that directly affects three others. But those three departments weren't in the room when the decision was made. They find out about it later in a staff meeting. Not so good. Or, this one's very common, someone spends 3 weeks building something only to find out that another team built the same thing 6 months ago, but it wasn't shared. This is what happens in silos when an organization gets siloed, right? And here's the thing that gets me every time I see this. When I work with these organizations and I ask leaders how they would describe their team's effectiveness, they almost always say good, sometimes even great. And they're not wrong, right? The work is getting done. But if you just peel back a layer, there's a lot of invisible waste. Rework, inconsistency, decisions made in a vacuum that would have been so much better if they had just been made by a team with a variety of different perspectives. Now, I don't tell you any of this to make you feel bad. I tell you this because I want you to zoom out for a moment and recognize this is a systems problem, not a people problem. These are talented, hardworking people getting things done, but operating without the right tools for effective cross-functional collaboration, right? That's how we end up in silos. And you, as a mid-level leader in the middle of all this, you have more power to change it than you probably realize. Which brings me to the real problem. So here's what I want you to understand about these cross-functional requests that land in your inbox, okay? The ones that make you pause and go, oh, my gosh, like I did in my opening. The problem is not that your colleagues are making unreasonable requests. And the problem is not that you're too busy. I mean, not really, not all the time. The problem is often that you just don't have quite enough information. When someone sends you a cross-functional request, you often have a knee-jerk reaction before you even know exactly what is being requested. You don't know how urgent a priority is or who it originally came from. You're not sure if this is a nice to have or it's one of those, hey, my VP is waiting on this type thing. Maybe you're not clear on your role. Like, wait a minute, what are you asking me for? Am I the decision maker here, or am I the support, or am I just the provider of information? And you probably haven't had a recent conversation with your own manager about what your priorities are this month. So you make a gut decision based on, I don't know, how much you like the person or how urgent the email sounds or whether you think you might be able to squeeze it in between now and Thursday. And that is not an optimal way to manage your work. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're navigating ambiguity without a framework. And that can just be exhausting. So let's fix that. I want to introduce you to the ACE framework. 3 letters, 3 questions, and once you have this, hopefully you won't feel blindsided by those cross-functional requests anymore. ACE stands for assess, clarify, and engage. Let me walk you through each one. I'm going to use a composite example, right? Just to make this really real. So imagine that you work in the communication department of a mid-size city government. You get an email from your colleague, Marcus, in the planning department. And he's working on a community outreach initiative, and he needs your help developing a stakeholder communication strategy. The email is friendly. You like Marcus a lot. He's helped you in the past. He says it shouldn't take too much time. He just needs it in 2 weeks. So, okay, take a deep breath. Here comes ACE. A, assess the ask. Before you respond, before you even think about your calendar, pause and assess. 3 questions here. What's actually being requested? Who is asking? And this one's critical, what authority sits behind this request? In Marcus's email, what's actually being requested is a stakeholder communication strategy. That's a specific deliverable. It's not just, hey, can I get your advice, right? It's not just a 15-minute call. It's a strategy document. Now, who's asking? In this case, all you know, a peer. A peer is asking, not your manager, not the city manager, but a colleague at your level. And what authority sits behind it? This is the part that most people skip. Is this a priority that his director assigned, or is it connected to a grant deadline, for example? Or is it something the city council asked for? Is it Marcus just hoping you can help because you've helped before and you're very good at your job? You don't know yet. And that's the point of the A in the ACE model. You need to assess so that you know before you commit. Okay? So let's move on to C, clarify your role. This is about being precise. It's not about dodging the work. It's about making sure that the right things land with the right people and nothing falls through the cracks. So, are you the decision maker in this, or are you the support? This is essentially something called a RACI or a RASCI type of question. People call it different things. They pronounce it differently, but it's RASCI. And this just helps us clarify. Wait, okay, what are you asking me for? Am I responsible here? Responsible for an outcome? Am I accountable to ensuring that something happens? Are you asking me to just be supportive of your initiative? Or are you just consulting with me? Are you just keeping me informed? That's the RASCI part of that model. And so essentially, you may use the model, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you don't. But the bottom line is you need to clarify your role specifically. Yeah, I talk about this all the time because clarity is so, so important. But in Marcus's case, sounds like you might be responsible for producing something, an output, right? But is your director aware of that? Does she have capacity concerns for you and your team this month? Have you been asked to deprioritize something else if this comes in? These are all very good questions. Clarifying your role, it protects you and Marcus. It means that he knows what he's getting from you. And it means you're not carrying ambiguous weight that, of an ask that you never totally agreed to because you weren't clear, right? Clarity is helpful for everyone. All right. Now let's get on to E, engage your stakeholders. Before you reply to Marcus, think about it. Who else needs to be part of this conversation? Almost certainly your manager should be part of it, not to get permission or cover yourself, but because your manager has visibility that you don't. She may know that the planning department's initiative, it's funded, it's a high priority for council, something like that. She may also know that your team is already maxed out for the next 3 weeks. She may have an opinion about how Marcus maybe should have made this request. She just may want to be in the loop. Okay. E is about proactively widening your lens before you close the loop. And then once you've done your ACE work, you just go do your research, just a couple of questions. You're going to go back to Marcus with something like this. Okay, let me script this for you. Hey, Marcus, thanks for reaching out. Here's what I can do. I can put together a stakeholder communication framework for you by the end of next week. I'll need about 30 minutes with you to understand the project scope and your priority, and your priority audiences. I'll loop in my director so she's aware. Can we get that call on the calendar by Wednesday? That's it. Okay. That's it. That's great internal customer service right there. Here's what I can do. Here's by when. Here's what I need from you. It's clear. It's concise. No drama. No overcommitting. No passive aggressive, non-answer, ignoring the email. We don't want to do that. It's just a professional, confident response from somebody who knows where they stand. Okay, I want to pause for just a second here because I want to talk about something that is directly connected to what we've been discussing. One of the biggest reasons cross-functional collaboration breaks down isn't a skills problem. It's a culture problem. When people at different levels of an organization don't have a shared language or shared frameworks and a shared commitment to how decisions get made, things fall apart. Slowly and then all at once. And that is exactly why I built Evolve, my leadership development platform. It includes Leadership Essentials. It's a 6-week challenge that gives leaders at every level a common foundation for self-leadership, communication, and working together effectively. This is the kind of foundation that makes conversations like the one you're going to have with Marcus so much more natural because everyone in the organization is working from the same playbook. Can you imagine? If you're a leader who wants to build that kind of clarity and consistency and a strong culture on your team, or if you're an organization looking for a scalable way to develop leaders at all levels, I'd love to show you what Evolve can do. Head over to clairelaughlin.com/evolve to learn more, or certainly reach out to me. Book a time on my calendar and we will talk it through. I'll put the link in the show notes. And now let's get back to ACE. Okay, now I want to give you a bonus tool because the ACE framework works best when you have a foundation underneath it. And that foundation comes from a conversation that most people aren't having or they're not having often enough. And here's what I see all the time. Many mid-level leaders are not having regular enough prioritization conversations with their managers. We have to talk about these things like what's hot, that kind of thing. Honestly, some only talk to their managers when something's already on fire. When the cross-functional demands are already overwhelming, or when priorities are already in conflict, or when they're so far down in the weeds that they've lost all perspective, right? What if you built clarity before the chaos? So here's what I want you to try. Once a month, 10 minutes, that's it. I want you to have a proactive managing up conversation with your manager. There's 4 questions. That's all you really need, okay? Question 1, hey, what's our win this month? What does success look like to you for our team right now? Like, what are we working towards this month? What's hot? What do we need to accomplish, okay? What's our win this month? That's question 1. Question 2, what are the deliverables that matter most right now? Like, what should I be protecting time for no matter what else lands on my plate? God, that's a great question. I love that. Question 3, this is one of my favorites. What are you hoping I'm working on that I may not fully know about? This is gold, my friend, because your manager has a view of the organization that you don't have. She may be expecting you to be involved in something that she hasn't communicated well enough, So this question surfaces invisible expectations. And remember, you're just having this conversation once a month, so it's well worth the ask. Question 4, what cross-functional projects are on the horizon that I could get called into? Like, what's coming, do you think, that I should be prepared for? And you ask that because, again, your manager probably has visibility into other things going on in the organization that you don't have yet. So find out. That's it. It's 4 questions, 10 minutes, once a month. And when you know your own priorities with clarity, You've got somewhere strong to stand when Marcus emails you. Okay, poor Marcus. But you can say, let me check in with my manager on timing and mean it, right? This is not dodging, being helpful. It's just a real answer grounded in real information. And that's what managing up actually looks like. It's not schmoozing, it's not over reporting, it's not CYA, it's just proactive, professional clarity. Okay, so I want to be honest with you for a second because having a framework is one thing, but using it when that email hits your inbox at 4:45 on a Tuesday is something else entirely. So, there are 3 things that tend to get in our way, that are going to stop us, that are going to take us off base when we want to use that ACE framework. I want to name them real quickly so you can see them when they show up. First, fear. Fear is always there, isn't it? But specifically, it's the fear, in a sense, it's sort of a fear that if you push back or even just slow down your yes, you're going to look unhelpful. You're going to be difficult. You're not being a team player, right? I mean, we want to be helpful. But here's your reframe. Saying, here's what I can do and by when is not a no. It's a professional commitment. And it's exactly what trusted colleagues do. The people who say yes to everything and then miss deadlines because they've overcommitted or they deliver half work, right? Those are the people that are eroding trust. You're doing something different. You're being honest and specific, and that is a gift. The second barrier is not knowing what to say. You sit there in agony for a minute. You know you should speak up. You know you should ask for clarity, but the words just don't come. That is exactly what that ACE framework gives you. You don't need a speech. You don't need some perfect response. You need one sentence, right? Let me make sure I understand what you need and check on my capacity. Can we get 15 minutes on the calendar? It's clear. That's it. One sentence is enough. And the third barrier is you, right? Your default. If you're a chronic overcommitter, and many of us are, a lot of really good leaders are, you've built a habit of saying yes before your brain has a chance to catch up. If you tend to avoid conflict, you might respond vaguely because you don't want the friction of a direct answer. Or if you struggle to prioritize, every request can feel equally urgent. The good news is that awareness is the first move. If you know your default pattern, you can pause before you respond. Just pause. And that pause, that 60-second gap between receiving the ask and writing your reply, that's where your choice lives, and ACE gives you something to do in that pause. Okay, let's bring this home. Today we talked about the real cost of working in silos. It's the invisible rework, the decisions that are made in a vacuum, the missed opportunities that come when smart people with complementary expertise are not working on the same things in the same room. We talked about why cross-functional requests can feel so hard, not because they are hard, but because we don't have, the right perspective or the ground to stand on when they pop into our inbox. We introduced the ACE framework: assess the ask, clarify your role, engage your stakeholders. 3 questions that give you clarity, confidence, and a professional response every time. Plus, the proactive managing up conversation, 4 questions, 10 minutes once a month. That builds the foundation you need to use ACE really well. Okay, so here's what I want you to know right now before you close this episode, before you pull out your phone, before the next thing grabs your attention. Think of one cross-functional situation you're navigating right now, just one, and run through that ACE in your head. When I say cross-functional situation, I mean think of one request that's sort of dangling out there for you to participate, for you to give your time, attention, and energy, okay? And apply the ACE framework. What's the actual ask, right? Assess. What's your role? To clarify your role and engage your stakeholders. Who needs to be in that conversation? And then this week, schedule a 10-minute managing up conversation with your manager. Those 4 questions, right? Put it on the calendar, ask your 4 questions, and get a new habit started. You already have the skills. You already care. Now you have an easy framework to insert in there and to lean on, all right? And hey, of course, if you found this episode useful, would you share it with a colleague who's navigating some of this cross-functional work right now, or a leader in your organization who's in the middle of that push and pull I described earlier? The more we talk about this stuff openly, the better our organizations get. I will put the link to Evolve in the show notes for you. Love to have you get in touch with me and we'll have a conversation about it if you think that's something that you'd benefit from. And by the way, I've also got a short companion guide for you, a companion guide for this episode, and it's called Managing Up, the Mid-Manager's Guide to Effective Collaboration. The link is in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. Now go lead the way.